The following WCIA 3 News special is brought to you by the McDonald Group, Express Employment, Copper Creek, OSF Healthcare, and Harriet's Rents Tents Events. Now honoring Hispanic Heritage Month with Celebrating Central Illinois. Here is your host, Karina Rubio.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Karina Rubio. Tonight we're highlighting those who are strengthening the Hispanic community right here in Illinois and across the country. It's all in celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month as we continue our year-long special celebrating Central Illinois. You'll hear from a doctor whose passion for medicine landed him right in Vermilion County.
He's wonderful. He's exactly what this office needed.
How he's a helpful hand to his patients and their families. One college broadcast station is starting a brand new show. We'll tell you why it's the first of its kind. And we introduced you to EIU's first woman and Hispanic police chief last year. How she's continuing to break barriers nearly 2 years into her position. But first, we begin with this. Daycares are essential for many working parents, but one in Rantoul has expanded beyond childcare. It's grown into a community hub, especially for the Hispanic population, and the center is about to get even bigger. From the moment these kids walk into the daycare doors, they're ready to learn and have some fun. From pizza parties,
More, thank you,
to shooting hoops, to playing video games. The goal of this center is right there in the name, Cultivadores, or cultivators.
A cultivators is someone that kind of invests in a person's life and cultivates them, empowers them, and tries to take them to another level.
It started when Nelson Cuevas moved to Central Illinois to get involved in prison ministry. Rantoul eventually became home. He began working with children when he noticed something in the community.
Latino children that they didn't understand the language. And back then they were really struggling academically. So my wife and I decided to just bring them to our home.
They started running a daycare from their basement, helping kids with schoolwork, and it took off.
4 kids led to 10 kids, 10 kids led to 20 kids. 20 kids caused the neighbors to ask me, what am I going to do?
The answer was a building on Maplewood Drive. It's like a second home to about 80 kids now, and so many more over the years.
And so I've seen 2 generations of 3-year-olds become 20-year-olds.
That includes daycare employee Cristian Villanueva.
I was like maybe 5 years old.
He was part of the original in-home daycare crew. Now his 2 daughters are also cultivators' kids, and a lot has changed.
I feel like it's a little different. You know, they got more space here. They're not, I feel like they're not cluttered in. And they don't feel it's so limited. You know, you can run free, you can have fun.
We've seen in the last 5 years that we've transitioned to just Latinos to becoming a multicultural daycare center.
20 years doesn't pass without having quality and having a history with the communities.
They serve families of all backgrounds now, and it's not just the daycare that's continued to develop with the people of Rantoul. The group evolved from Cultivators Kids Club to Cultivadores Centro de Vida, or Mission Center. It's a home to a church offering Mass in Spanish. Cuevas and his wife, Esther Alejandro, are the pastors. They have a food pantry helping families in need and provide many other social services.
We are continuing to grow in huge numbers.
That's why they're expanding for a second time. Cuevas bought 2 vacant buildings adjacent to their existing spot. The construction process has already started. It's a bright future ahead. Once completed, it'll look like this, allowing the daycare, church, and pantry to thrive. The team says with change comes challenge, but they're ready to serve the community on an even bigger scale.
And I know that God will give us all the instruments and the people that we need to get to that point.
It is exciting to see this happen. It wasn't in my wildest dreams, but it's happening.
Cuevas says a few cultivators' kids have gone on to be in law enforcement, education, and the military. The new addition to that center is set to open in January. Doctors often impact a person's life in big ways, but not everyone can easily access health care. One OSF provider is using his enduring journey to becoming a pediatrician to change that.
Many kids grow up dreaming of becoming an astronaut, firefighter, or pro athlete. For Dr. Luis Garcia, he always knew he wanted doctor to precede his name.
Growing up, I have memories like, with my friends in the neighborhood, when we did whatever, expeditions, walking through the river or something. For some reason, I was always like the doctor of the group.
Make-believe became reality. He's a pediatrician at OSF in Danville now. But being born and raised in Cuba, his path to getting there is different from most doctors.
Over there, you actually practice medicine all day long, meaning it's okay for even patients show up at your doorstep at any time, 9, 10 o'clock.
Garcia practiced for a short time there before he was sent to Venezuela.
That's how I worked. That's me at the office.
In a bulletproof vest because of politics. Cuba got access to Venezuela's large oil reserves in the early 2000s. In return, Venezuela got several things, including Cuban doctors.
It was also used by both sides, both the opposition and the Chavez regime.
Garcia was stationed here in the Cerros of Venezuela, a neighborhood of people facing extreme poverty.
It wasn't unheard of people just driving by those, they call it the Cuban places or the Cuban offices in which people might just come up and shoot randomly from the street.
He says it was overwhelming, but
on the other hand, it actually gives you the true sense of service in a way that, that's what it really means to be there for your patients.
Garcia came to the U.S. in 2009, continuing his passion of working with underserved communities in several states and reaching another personal goal.
Trying to achieve or get a better quality of life, not just for myself, but also for my family who was left behind at that point.
This December will mark 2 years at OSF.
Hold on, Doc. Here.
Garcia and Emily Isom aren't just co-workers. She can speak firsthand to his quality of care. Her daughter is his patient.
He is just so fantastic with her, and she is not scared around him and just makes her feel happy.
She says he's able to truly connect with kids and parents.
He actually will draw pictures, and it's the coolest thing, and help people, show them visually, okay, this is what we need to do, this is what's happening.
But that's not all. He also has informative videos on the OSF website in Spanish for Hispanic families.
Es también importante tener este chequeo para tener una idea de cómo está el estatus general de salud de nuestros niños. It's always good to have that sense of closeness in a way that, hey, same roots, we come from the same place. Let's try to help our kids.
And when it comes to working with children, Garcia says the opportunity to make an impact is beyond rewarding.
I truly believe that we're dealing with the future here.
Practicing medicine runs in the family. Dr. Garcia's mother was an oncologist in Cuba. Garcia was finally able to reunite with his mom and brother here in the U.S. about 3 months ago after 14 years apart. Two families took their dreams and made it a reality. We'll tell you all about their restaurants. Plus, the U of I is featuring Mexican culture right on campus, where you can see pieces of history.
Celebrating Central Illinois continues, honoring Hispanic Heritage Month.
A sister duo with Ecuadorian roots are living out their dream of being business owners. They run El Paraíso in downtown Urbana. They started off in a small food hall right before the pandemic and bounced back in a location of their own. They've been in their current location for about a year now.
Thankfully, God has guided us, and we've been able to really prosper and really see our family investment and business grow a lot.
We enjoy what we do. We like our customers, and we try every time to do something new.
The restaurant features food from several Latin American countries. The owners say it's to reflect the diverse Hispanic population of Champaign-Urbana. You can find Ecuadorian, Mexican, Guatemalan, Colombian, and more food on the menu. Also in downtown Urbana, a new Mexican eatery called Encanto recently opened. The owners say the name came as an idea from their children, not the popular Disney movie. It has dine-in booths on the first level, tables on the upper level, and dining in the alley. We talked to one of the owners who says it's only took about a year to bring that place to life, but her husband, the co-owner, has been picturing this moment for years. She also says her family is excited for people to learn about who they are after living in the area for 17 years.
My husband, Gerardo, he had a dream since he was 16. He's from Mexico, and his dream was to have the restaurant open at one point, and this dream came true.
She says she wants her restaurant to be different from others with a blend of Mexican and Peruvian dishes. The U of I is celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month with a new art exhibit highlighting the rich history of Mexican culture. It's called Mexican Muralism, housed at the Illini Union Art Gallery. It displays photos of murals by some of the most famous Mexican painters of the 20th century. They date back as far as the 1920s and go into the 70s. One expert who's researched Mexican art for 20 years says each photograph represents a significant time in Mexican history, and she hopes viewers can learn about the culture from each and every piece.
It's a way of comprehending of you can be here and try to identify all the people that is in there and try to understand what the artist wanted to portray.
The exhibit had a show in Chicago and will travel to San Antonio soon. It'll be at the Illini Union Art Gallery through October 1st. Investors are helping fund Latino startups in Chicago and across the country. The success some companies are having thanks to that extra help. Plus this.
This broadcast means a lot to a lot of people, and we hope to do our best to tell the stories that haven't necessarily been told.
A new broadcast at the U of I is set to make its debut in about a month. We'll tell you what makes this one so unique. Some students at the U of I are aiming to make the news a little more diverse, launching a newscast all in Spanish called UI-17 in Vivo. They approached their professor with the idea and have already been working on it for months. There's about 15 students involved so far, ready to work either behind the scenes or in front of the camera. The group says they don't know of any other college campus doing something like this. The goal is to create space for Latino students and help kickstart successful careers.
The U of I can become kind of a hub for people who want to go down that path and pursue a career in Spanish language broadcast. Telemundo, Univision are huge dreams that a lot of the people I've talked to, Latino students, they see themselves on TV.
It'll air live every Friday at 4:30 p.m. The first show is set for October 13th. They'll also be on Roku and Facebook Live. Chicago's small businesses have always been a big part of thriving neighborhoods. In one community, you can find a string of them generating millions of dollars each year. And our group of investors is working to make sure many Latino-owned businesses have that ability to keep growing.
Latinos are said to be the fastest growing segment of the business community, with more than 5 million businesses across the country. There's a catch, though. Very few are moving from being just a small business to becoming a $1 million company.
I educated myself. I went back out and I was reaching out to investors that it made sense.
Small business owners tell their stories, their dreams of growth, all in an effort to convince investors to bet on them. This is what's known in the investing world as pitch night.
You never say no. I don't say no. Yeah.
If it sounds like an opportunity, it's because it is. For Latino-owned businesses, though, it has never been that easy.
2 years ago, I went out to raise, no luck, They talk about the 100 no's, I probably had 200 no's.
Meet Ricardo Regalado.
Wrong shelves, go back and get the new shelves.
He co-founded Route, a platform of tools for the commercial cleaning industry servicing 20 states. You could say he is among the lucky Latinos growing his family business.
When people talk about family friends, go raise money, family friends. We are the family and friends. I don't have a network like that.
Stories like his led a group of Latinos to create Angeles Investors, angel investors meant to change the outlook for Latino businesses in every corner of the country, from Little Village to California, giving small entrepreneurs a chance at success.
Many businesses are below $1 million in revenue, and it's because there isn't the capital needed to fuel growth.
If you look at our community, hardworking, innovative, energetic, the grit that we put into the businesses, we believe there's an opportunity to make a definite, strong return on investment.
Despite that, a recent Stanford University study found that Latino-owned businesses have lower approval rates than white businesses when requesting loans above $50,000.
It's definitely national problem.
It's devastating, actually, because especially in a city like Chicago, it was built on the backs of the braceros from Mexico. And so sometimes there's a perception that, well, they're all recent arrivals. Well, no, Latinohood has a very long history in Chicago.
Here's a theory behind that lack of investment.
It might be viewed as risk, right? So they look at it and say, well, they're not going to the right school, they may not have the right networks, and am I going to make this bet on this startup?
AJ De Leon's story is a step in changing that perception. The former Chicago Public Schools educator co-founded Innovair, a tool to help schools make data-driven decisions. The company has raised $5 million since 2017.
That's very rare for Hispanic-led and or minority-led companies. Only about 2% of the $280 billion that were given in 2021 went to companies that look like ours.
It's a reality that he says doesn't fit the country's demographics, with Latinos now making up 20% of the population and with nearly 5 million businesses across the country. For him, growth equals help, the help he's received and the help he's now giving back.
That's one of my greatest pleasures, right? To be able to hire my own people and for them to continuously tell me that they feel seen and affirmed at work.
And there are some indications that Latino businesses are growing at a faster pace than before. The Stanford Research Project on Latino entrepreneurs estimates that the annual payroll of Latino-owned businesses grew over twice as fast as those of white-owned businesses in the last decade. In Chicago, I'm Lourdes Duarte.
In Tampa, Florida, there's a museum to check out more than 130 years of baseball history. It is what used to be the boyhood home of baseball legend Al Lopez. Brianda Villegas has the story.
When we bring our tour groups in, we like to tell them this is our biggest artifact.
The place where Al Lopez, the son of Spanish immigrants, grew up, along with his 8 siblings.
After you learn a little bit of Al,
Curator Arminda Mata says it was transformed into a museum.
I was told a tidbit by a gentleman that said that there was one time that the umpire tried to throw Al Lopez out of the game, and he turned around and said, "You can't throw me out of the game, this is my field."
To shine a light on the accomplishments of El Señor.
The first Hall of Famer, the first MLB player, and the first manager to come out of Ybor City.
The first, but not the last.
All of these men came out of the city of Tampa or the surrounding counties.
As this gem highlights dozens of local legends.
I love Pete Alonso's cleats because Pete was a little upset that he forgot to clean them, and my favorite part is the dirt on his cleats.
Preserving a pastime.
For people to speak all these different languages and come together, baseball was the universal language.
Still bringing together cultures and inspiring young fans right here in Ybor.
Our little leagues are so important, and the coaches and the parents that get their children there are so important to continue this history and the growth of baseball in Tampa.
One Central Illinois University police chief is continuing to impact her community. The recognition she's getting from Illinois State Police up next. A Central Illinois police chief is continuing to break barriers. She made history at Eastern Illinois University's police department. Now she's receiving a statewide honor for another big milestone.
Thank you. Thank you.
a round of applause for Chief Marisol Gamboa. She became the first woman and the first Hispanic to lead the EIU Police Department in January 2022.
I was shocked, and I was like, no, surely not. That can't be it.
That's how she's feeling now after learning she's the first ever Latina to reach the role of Chief of Police in the entire state. She got an award from the Hispanic Illinois State Law Enforcement Association, recognizing Gamboa as a trailblazer.
The state police only has 1.23% Latinas in the Illinois State Police, even though the Hispanic population of Illinois is 18%. So, you know, that shows that there's a gap.
That's retired State Police Sergeant Joanne Armenta. In 1979, she became the first Latina to be sworn in as an Illinois State Trooper. Now she and Gamboa are teaming up to strengthen the numbers.
I think that there are a lot more young women like me, not just Latinas, but women of color who aspire to do something that society in general, sometimes even their families tell them, you can't do that, that's not for you, that's a man's job.
On top of the award, Gamboa hosted the first Women Police of Color Leadership Summit at EIU. She and Armenta carefully selected women from across the state with one goal in mind.
We have to mirror our community, and we have to be there for the young women and the little girls that are looking to be law enforcement. If they don't see us in uniform, if they don't see us in a law enforcement role, how are they going to accomplish their dreams if they don't know where to start?
The women gathered around a table to share their stories, hoping to answer the questions of why are minority women so underrepresented in policing, and how can they recruit more?
That we could pool our knowledge, pool our experiences, and then maybe come up with some recommendations for police departments to engage in better practices, to hire more women who look like us.
And Gamboa is hoping their impact is felt no matter who you are.
No, it's not just about women of color, it's about all women together moving forward.
Gamboa has also been selected as one of Comptroller Susana Mendoza's honorees for Hispanic Heritage Month. Mendoza will host a special lunch and ceremony for them in October. Over the last 30 minutes, you've heard the stories of Hispanics making a difference in their communities. We've enjoyed telling those stories and hope to feature even more doing the same thing right here on WCIA. Stay with us for next month's special all about amazing teachers across Central Illinois. Thank you and good night.
This has been Celebrating Central Illinois, honoring Hispanic Heritage Month. Brought to you by the McDonald Group, Express Employment, Copper Creek, OSF Healthcare, and Harriet's Rent Tents Events.